Welcome to Season 5, The Podwriter. Today we have a wonderful guest from India, Mr. Shaan. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me. Hina.
Thanks a lot for taking out time. And if you could tell our listeners a little more about yourself.
So I'm a designer by profession, by heart as well, and I'm also a founder of this company called Brnkage. At Brnkage, our sole mission is to create a flourishing world. And I've recently also started my own podcast, which is based on kind of transformation and evolution of a human mind. So that's that. I'm hosting that right now and also working part-time as a designer.
That's wonderful. So you're designing the mind of people also.
Yeah. Actually, while in designing, you learn this thing called design thinking. So
Right.
it is basically it is a kind of a problem solving method. So yeah, you learn to think like a designer and then you can apply that skill in your life as well to design your life and all that.
Okay. And in your podcasting journey, did you have your own ups and down moment?
Ups and downs, I will say a lot of them
Okay.
because first thing is like starting something is hard enough, right? When you're at the beginning of something, just to have the courage to start it, that's hard enough. And after that, figuring out everything, what softwares to use, and how to get guests on your podcast, right? So it's
Yeah.
a step-by-step process. And what I think is what I did correctly, and if someone can learn from that, is don't like overthink and just start and figure out everything on the way. Don't try to figure out everything in the beginning. Like when I started, my quality of sound was like very bad, and then I learned to use some sound editing software and all that, and then the quality of sound improved. And I also do a video version of the podcast. So right now I'll tell you I'm struggling. I told you in our earlier call also that I'm struggling with the video part of the podcast. So it's a constant journey, I will say. You have to keep learning.
That's interesting also because, yes, it is difficult as you had mentioned, and it's a very valid point that you have highlighted. If anyone would like to start something, they should not overthink a lot.
Right.
That is very valuable. And any personal tough moments in life, and how did you cope? If you could share with our listeners.
Yeah, there are a lot of tough moments in my life, I'll say, and that's the major reason I started my podcast.
Hmm.
It's not about like just starting a podcast and getting views and all that for me. I have like podcast is just the part of my journey. So I have been through a lot of mental struggles, psychological struggles in my life, from depression to anxiety to insomnia, and ultimately I was diagnosed with this thing called bipolar disorder. Although I hate labels, I don't label myself anything, but uh, that's the reality that I was diagnosed. So 3 or 4 years, maybe approximately earlier, I started on this journey of self-examination, self-exploration, learning about the human mind, consciousness, and not just like purely out of curiosity, but curiosity was a part of it, but to solve my own problems, right?
Okay.
So I was reading a lot and I was sitting by myself developing, like examining my life, developing habits and all that. And so I was exposed to this podcasting world from that only. And there were few conversations which had a great impact on my life. So as I was moving forward on my journey, solving my own issues, my own psychological problems, healing my own trauma, I thought while I'm on this learning spree, why not just connect with like these coaches, healers, authors, and I will connect with them. I will get their wisdom, which I am doing in my own personal time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I will get that wisdom from them, and I'll edit it, like create, like put it in a format and put it out. If someone can benefit from that, they can. And if it get no views, then I'm doing it anyways.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's a very beautiful thought that you are learning it and then translating it into a more relatable, format
Right.
and just sharing it.
Yeah.
So that is very nice. And in your life as a podcaster, what are the things that you feel that you have experienced that other podcasters can benefit? One, you had
Yes.
said yes,
Yeah.
overthinking should not be there. Besides that,
Yeah.
if you could give any tips.
I would say uh, you can get a glimpse of that in the like story I told you just right now. If I have to put it in a sentence, I will say find your why. Why you are doing podcasting? Podcasting is just a medium. It should not be the end in itself, right? It should not be about how many listeners you have, or although it's a part of it, but the main focus should not be that. The main focus should be like what kind of impact you are trying to create, or what are you trying to do, what are you trying to learn from this journey, right? So
Right.
find your why are you doing it, think about it, contemplate on it. And another thing I will say, and this is also a life skill as well as it will improve you as a podcaster, and it will improve your life as well, is
Mm-hmm.
that learn to ask better questions. Right? We in life, like we always focus on the answers, and you'll get a lot of answers from your guests. But as a podcaster, what you can do is you can train yourself to learn to ask better questions. Right? We don't often question the obvious. We don't like go in depth of things. So it's an opportunity, I think, as a podcaster that you can do it, and hopefully you will create a profession out of it. So just be curious, I would say.
Right. So it's like in your journey that you have taken so far and moving forward, you are learning in the process. And out of curiosity, you introspected your own life, gave yourself some time, and then realized that you need to share it to the world so that it can benefit some listener somewhere.
Yeah, and it's natural, and I'm not saying like go and share. It will come natural. You can
Absolutely.
when you will work on yourself, naturally the desire will come inside of you that I should now I've learned something beneficial and I should share. So we should do that.
That's why, like, I feel that the number game is not so important. Like, number of listeners or the number of viewers.
Yeah, it is important, but at the
Mhm.
same time it's not.
Right.
Like at like we were talking in that call, and you told me that don't think too much, like don't philosophize everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can play this like overthinking game, or you want to say philosophy game. At times, you can take out time and think deep about things, why I'm doing what I'm doing and all that, right? But also you have to let go of that and think very, very rationally about what you are doing at the same time. Are you getting it?
Right. That is why finding your why is important.
Right. Like, example, I would say, like, uh, we can compare views to money, right? At the same time, you have to, like, be a person that money not rules over you. But at the same time, you can't neglect money, right? Money is a
True.
part of life.
Very true.
Yeah.
So, any funny moment or a memory you have as a podcaster, Mr. Shan?
A lot of funny
Really,
moments. Yeah.
would love to
Yeah. And
listen.
most of funny moments will come from your failures. Like, failures are most stupid, and as a podcaster, I would say you'll have many stupid failures. Like, for instance, there was a time, actually I had my studio in my other home, which is few kilometers away, right? So I have to go there to conduct a podcast. So I left my house an hour early,
Mm-hmm.
and as I was on the way, I got stuck in the traffic. Okay, and the person I was going to interview is waiting for me, and I was so serious about. I am so serious about doing this thing, so I was very, very frustrated. Like, what the hell has happened? I'll not be able to go at time, and what kind of image it will create out of my, like, in front of my guests and all. So I was so frustrated. And when I reached my studio, so as I was doing the arrangements, I what I find out is the Wi-Fi connection is like out of
Oh,
service.
then
So then I call the person, Wi-Fi person. Right. My guest is waiting. He's constantly texting me. Then I called the Wi-Fi person and I requested to him, like, please, it's very, very urgent. Please do that. And he's saying I'm stuck in the same traffic as well. So what I did, uh, I did a top up in my phone. I recharged my phone like 1 GB internet, and then I did the podcast from there.
this is a very common thing also, like, just at the right time,
Yeah,
everything is just on the opposite side also.
yeah, you can relate, right?
I can absolutely.
Was
Uh,
there any similar moment in your journey?
Connectivity, oh yes. While recording on phone itself, there was a connectivity issue. The Wi-Fi just logged off from the phone. Luckily, the speaker was still speaking, so I had directly then, switched on to the laptop where actually
Oh,
the Zoom was getting recorded.
yeah,
But these are the glitches, and that's the fun part also to create the experience.
yeah. So over time, I think what happens is you learn not to panic, right? After that, like,
Absolutely.
a lot of similar instances happen, but
Hmm.
I was like, I will figure it out. And and for new podcasters who are on their first or second episode, I would say the guest which you are interviewing, he understands all this. Like, if right now this call gets connected, then Hina understands that this happens. So you
Right.
don't have to panic.
Absolutely, because the other person is
Yeah,
also a human being and
yeah,
he can always connect and re-record it.
right. So we humans are flawed, so you don't have to panic all the time.
That's
Let it
wonderfully
flow.
said and shared also again because, yes, as you had mentioned, those who are just starting podcasting, this is very important for them.
Right.
And it is also important for us also.
Yeah, we have to
Uh,
pay attention because our mind is like have this kind of negativity bias, right?
Yeah,
We focus.
every guest is important and every interview is very important because the wise words shared by the person is very, very important.
Yeah, I have this rule, like I don't do interview on a subject which I'm not interested in.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not interested in the person, I'm not curious about the person, I'm not curious about the subject, I'll politely decline. But I'm sorry, let's not do this.
Okay, so that could be again helpful for the podcasters that unless until you relate to the subject.
Yeah, because it impacts the quality of your conversation, right? If you're not interested, you'll be like, well, why the hell I'm here? I'm wasting my time.
Right. That contentment will not be there.
Right.
And as you had earlier said, the question, find your why, that will not be satisfied.
Yeah. You will not, like, for example, if you will ask some question, right? You will, like, a lot of time we prepare questions, we prepare a format for the podcast, right? But what will come after that question? That's out of pure curiosity, right?
Right. So,
So you will not ask follow-up questions if you are not curious about the subject or the person.
absolutely. And that is for the podcasters. Any message for the people in general?
Message for the people.
Yeah, your listeners? What would you like to tell them?
All right. This is for a lot of people, it will be a bit dark maybe, but I will say it's the most important thing in life. I will say memento mori.
Okay.
Memento mori means remember you will die.
Mm-hmm. That's the ultimate truth also.
Yeah. So contemplate on death. This might be your last day. So what you want it to be like, what kind of podcast, if you are producing a podcast or if you are doing something else, so what kind of work you wanna do, what kind of, like, even in small situations right now, we are having this conversation. Okay. So it all matters, right? It
Right.
makes life beautiful when you think about it. This might be the last day on this planet.
So it's like living in the moment.
It will bring you to the moment, and naturally it will make you appreciate life.
Right.
So think about it, memento mori.
So if at all others want to listen to your podcast, can you share your social media link or any website and the podcast name?
Yeah, my podcast and my company's name is Brnkage, Brnkage, and it's all about healing and flourishing of the human mind. So if you resonate with that, you can check it out. I also upload videos on YouTube, and the audio version goes to all the other platform, Anchor and Spotify, Google Podcasts, and all that. I'll share the link with you so you can put it in the description of this video or audio, wherever you're listening or watching.
Okay. And this is a request to all the listeners to kindly go and do listen to what he has shared. It will be beneficial as we progress and move in life. And definitely, it will be entertaining also.
Yeah.
So, before we end the session, or let's say this episode, do you want to have anything else?
It's a habit to say it's a session, right? As
Session,
a therapist.
absolutely. But it's also like a session wherein I am learning over here right now.
Yeah. No, I'm learning to actually, when you gave me this opportunity, I was like, wow, it's the right kind of opportunity to contemplate on what I have done in these days and what I need to improve. So it was a great experience. I'm very, very grateful, and thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much for all your inputs and advice. So, anything before we end the episode?
I will say just like act. There is like this decision making method, I will say. It's called UDA, which I apply in my decision making. It's observe, orient, decide, act. Okay. Don't. The message of this podcast is, if one thing you wanna say from that is, this podcast, listening to podcast is just the beginning, right? What happens after that matters. Do you take action or you don't take action? So don't just hit the pause on this podcast and go listen to another podcast or surf the internet for any other thing or watch Netflix. Do something.
Action is needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
And after that, share. Like we are sharing. We want to learn from you.
Absolutely. So please go and check out his videos on YouTube also. I will share all the links in the post, so you will have a place to click on. Thanks a lot, Mr. Shan, for your time, and it was wonderful listening from what you have learned from your journey and how you have bounced back by introspecting your life and also developing on the habits that you have, actually progressed on. It's a beautiful journey, and thanks a lot for sharing with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I hope this was worthwhile for the listener. And
I
see you
believe
soon.
it will be.
Yeah,
Thank you, and keep growing and spreading the positivity and awareness that you are doing. All the best for your upcoming
yeah.
shows.
Likewise.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.
You too. You too. Bye bye.
Bye. This was Mr. Shan from India. His enriching journey, full of ups and downs, has made him who he is now, determined, passionate, and eager to be there for others. His strong willpower has given him the undying grit. Introspection about himself at the right time helped him to develop positive habits and strengthen his decision making skills by what he shared was through OODA, OODA, observe, orient, decide, and act. His mission is to bring tools and inspiration in the form of empowering conversations with warriors, teachers, and healers so that we all can learn, heal, and grow together. Mr. Shan's motto is to create a flourishing world both inwardly and outwardly for ourselves and future generations. With that positive note, I end this episode. Hope you all could absorb the confidence through Mr. Shan's conversation. Till my next episode, do take care and be safe. Bye.